Daniel Cormier gives props to Tony Ferguson for going 15 minutes with Paddy Pimblett despite losing. DC, however, says it's time for Tony to retire. DC said Tony Ferguson would seem to be done. Call it what it is. I believe that Tony Ferguson should retire. I really try to limit trying to show a man the door because nobody knows when someone's done until they know that they're done. Only Tony knows when it's time. But it seems as though he's the only one left that isn't sure. Everybody else feels pretty certain that the time has come for Tony Ferguson. Many didn't even expect Tony Ferguson to go 15 minutes, so hats off to Tony for doing that. But David Goggins, who cornered him at UFC 296, came up to us at the end of the fight and said, Tony may retire after this. And I said, well, is he? He goes, I don't know. But we gave our opinions and said, maybe it's time for Tony to retire. While his heart and his mind are still telling him to go, I don't necessarily know if his timing is still where it needs to be, because for a short period of time in those fights, you see the old Tony Ferguson, but as time goes on, he isn't the same guy. Dana White made some big fight announcements last night, including a few fights on UFC 300.
What's up, guys? Merry Christmas. I got some fight announcements for you. So, February 17th, UFC 298 in Anaheim, number 3 ranked Rob Whittaker versus number 6 Paulo Costa. Also on the card, number 8 ranked Jeff Neal versus the number 10 ranked undefeated Ian Gary. And I know, we said that fight was on UFC 299, but it's not. It's on 298 now. Deal with it. February 24th in Mexico City. You already know Moreno versus Albazi is on the card. We are adding number 3 ranked Brian Ortega versus number 2 ranked Yair Rodriguez. Moreno and Albazi is the main event, but do not fear. That fight is so bad that Ortega versus Rodriguez is a 5-round co-main event. All right, moving on to March 30th in Atlantic City. The women's flyweight matchup between the number 2 ranked Erin Blanchfield versus the number 3 ranked Manion Ferro. Blanchfield is on a 9-fight win streak. Ferro is on an 11-fight win streak, and neither one of these women has lost a fight in 4 years. That is such a bad matchup. Now, what everybody's been waiting for. No main events or anything like that, but I will tell you April 13th. UFC 300, number 2 ranked Yuri Prohaska versus number 5 ranked Alexander Rakic. Former bantamweight champion Aljamain Sterling moves up to featherweight to face number 7 ranked Calvin Kattar and the return of Bo Nickel. He hasn't lost a fight in 5. He's got 5 wins, all coming by finish. He's 5-0, and he is taking on Cody Brundage. Brundage's last 4 fights, his last 4 wins, have all come by first-round finish. So, that is the lineup I have for you guys right now. I'll have more coming after the new year. Merry Christmas, and have a happy holiday, everybody.
Jamahal Hill reveals that during the scuffle between Sean Strickland and Dricus du Plessis in the crowd of UFC 296, he was the one who grabbed Gilbert Burns' wife and son to try to protect them.
So no, whenever he jumped over and he started hitting Dricus, and when Dricus pushed him back, bro, like you gotta think, it was people sitting there. So then like everything got pushed that way. Everything got pushed that way, and initially, I seen when I hopped up and I seen like him jump up and then him start to come this way. I seen Gilbert's son, so like a lot of the camera angles you really can't see. Gilbert's son was like literally right there on the other side of his wife, right initially where they where Sean and him actually came down at, and where Dricus started punching that. So I just like kind of grabbed her and then grabbed him.
I mean, but you've been painted lately in the news like as a bad character and shit. So yeah. I really admire like the heroism though, to say, protect them first before you.
Bro, you know how that is. It is what it is, but
nah, you done got your wing. You done got your wings back now. This is like community service.
It was not that. That was not what I was thinking of. Nah, for real. But it's just like natural instinct, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, and then Gilbert, Mike came. He was on the other side of me. He grabbed Gilbert's other oldest son, and Gilbert actually like kind of pushed him and kept them and shit. Cause like, bro, the way that they were coming, bro, he almost fell on my fucking leg. You know what I mean? He kind of got leaned over, and things like that. And Gil, he kind of stirred that whole thing and like kind of like created that barrier. and things like that for like. So that was smooth and that was solid. That was solid. That was great. That was great that he did that. And I really fucking appreciate that, because last thing I wanted is these falling on my leg. But it's like it was crazy, bro.
Joe Rogan says that elite fighters fighting outside of the UFC are often wasting their careers. Joe compares it to playing football for the NFL versus the XFL. On the Joe Rogan Experience, Joe said, no disrespect to other organizations. There's very good fighters in the other organizations, but I often feel like they're wasting their career, because I see these elite fighters that are fighting in Bellator or PFL, and I'm like, hey guys, no one's watching. I mean, some people are watching. You're getting a little bit of a fan base. I don't want to disrespect, but there's a reality. There's the XFL and there's the CFL. Then there's the f***ing NFL. And if you're not in the f***ing NFL, are you really playing football? If you're the UFC champ, you're the f***ing man. If you're the Bellator champ, I respect the shit out of those guys. I love them. Guys like Johnny Eblen. I really wish that guy would come to the UFC. There's this feeling of being in the UFC that everyone dreams of. You want Bruce Buffer right in front of you going, it's time. And you're like, holy shit. Alex Pereira posted this to his Instagram story last night, which left the MMA community with a ton of questions. It says 30 plus 300 equals 3, a thinking face emoji. A lot of people are saying that Pereira is hinting that he's fighting Tom Aspinall at UFC 300. 30 pounds plus UFC 300 equals 3 UFC titles. Now today, Pereira reposted this to his story. It says, how does Poatan make a deal like this and not say anything? What do you guys think this means? Do you think Pereira could actually be fighting Tom Aspinall? As most of you guys know, Aspinall said that Pereira was sizing him up at a recent press conference.
Listen to this, right? We're in New York. He was quite frosty when I met him. We did the press conference. We sat next to each other. He was literally, I was here, he was there. Got off the press conference, and my dad said, oh, like, how was it? I said, do you know that Alex Pereira? He said, yeah. I said, he thinks he can beat me, you know? And my dad was like, what do you mean? I don't know, I can just tell. I literally could feel off him. I felt like he was like sizing me up a little bit. I almost got the feeling from him like I would get from an opponent before I would fight him. Do you know what I mean?
Because he had it in his mind.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know. I might have been reading the situation completely wrong. But when I saw that headline that he's moving up to heavyweight, he's going to move up to heavyweight, I was like, that does make a bit of sense.
What do you make of that fight between you and him? I mean, what a striking match it could make.
I think it makes for an amazing fight, to be honest. As I said to you, I've never turned a fight down in my life, so count me in.
And that's going to wrap it up for the news. Thanks for watching. For daily MMA news and content, subscribe to Full Mount MMA and click the bell icon to be notified when we post videos. Here are the 3 top comments from last video. The first one says, Dustin complaining about his position yet denies every fight that is offered to him. The second one says, if Colby really believes he won that fight, then Masvidal did give him brain damage. And the final one says, Colby went from I don't have a scratch on me to my foot was a balloon. Those were the 3 top comments from last video. If you want to be featured in the next one, all you have to do is comment down below. And if you missed yesterday's news, click the video on screen right now to get caught up.